Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So I was discussing about the declarative model and desired state. So what do you want? Declare in the declarative model. Now declarative model supported by YAML or JSON, you know that. Remember, you can write anything in the YAML or JSON, but API server always receive in the JSON format only. So kubectl is which is there in your workstation, which convert that actually. So what you want? Declare where? YAML or JSON. But what do you want? I want 3 pod of what? Nginx. Wonderful. You want the 3 pod of Nginx? You write it in JSON or YAML through kubectl. You send to API server, and now you know what happens. Boom. 3 pods is there. How you got 3 pod? I think you should know, and you know that API server, whatever the desire you sent it, API server stored in the KB store. That means etcd. Controller reported in the cluster, you don't have Nginx 3 pod, you have 0 pod. API server realized, okay, we have a 0 pod in the cluster, but desire, which is in the etcd, we have a 3 mismatch. So they created a request for scheduler 3 pod of Nginx. Scheduler will pick up that request from API server, and then scheduler has some logic, some brain actually. They have a brain, something like where to schedule the work, which node to do that work, affinity, anti-affinity, and constant. Many things are there in the scheduler. I'm not confusing the too many things. Scheduler will assign that work to the node. Node will have what? Kubelet. Kubelet will instantiate a pod. Pod will be filled by container with the help of Docker, and then pod will be given an IP address by the kubeproxy. 3 pod you have it equally, 1 1 1, one container, one container, one container. So simple, right? Did you understand that so far? Correct? Guys?
Yes.
Now what happened? One node got disappeared. Any reasons? Hardware, software, network, anything. So one node got disappear. That means one pod got disappear. I wanted to have a 3 pod. Right now, controller reported 2 pod. Desire and actual mismatched. Then you know what happens. Immediately API server will again raise a request for scheduler. 1 pod of Nginx created. Desire and actual match, and that is work is done. So this is how Kubernetes function. This is how Kubernetes function. So important thing is, what do you want, sir? What do you want? Because if you want something, you have to explain in the, you have to put it, you have to declare in the YAML or JSON. What do you want? Do you want pod? Do you want controller? Do you want services? Do you want storage? What is pod? What is controller? What is services? What is storage? By the way, this is not a complete list. More than 55, I think 54 or 55 resources which you may want it for what? For running your application in the Kubernetes cluster for the production server. That we call it a Kubernetes API object. Again, remember, these all we call it API object. Why? Because all these resources we have in the API server, we request API server to create this object. I want pod. How many pod? I want controller. I want services. I want storage. I want this. I want that. So basically, your work is to learn all the APIs objects of the Kubernetes, nothing else. Because the moment you know what you want, you put it in the YAML file, send it to the API server, and forget about it. That's all. Rest of the work will be done by Kubernetes. So first thing which you want is pods. See, simple concept, guys. When you want something, very first thing on AWS cloud, what do you want? You want VM. So same way here in the Docker platform, what do you want? Container. So in the Kubernetes, you want pod. Pod has what? Container. Container come from where? Images and namespaces, resources. You know that. So now we need to understand what is pod. See here, it's very important image. Very important image. Hypervisor manages the virtual machines. Okay. Docker manages the container. Understand this, very simple logic. Hypervisor manages the virtual machines, but Docker manages the container. So Kubernetes manages the pod. Very simple concept. Have you heard about this hypervisor managing the container or Docker managing the virtual machine? No. So same way, Docker cannot manage the pod and Kubernetes cannot manage the container directly. Okay. Simple statement. Virtual machines have a operating system, including boot file system. You know that. Container, you have a images without a boot file system, root and app. Container come from the images, and pod has a container. Think about it. VM is running. Think about it. VM is running as long as the PID1. Mind it here. VM is running as long as the PID1 of your virtual machines, operating system is running. Container is running as long as the PID1 is running. But you know what? Pod is running as long as the container is running. Pod is running as long as the all containers of that particular pod is running. So what is the pod? In Kubernetes, if you want to deploy the container, actually you have to deploy in the pod. That means pod is an atomic unit of scheduling in Kubernetes. You cannot deploy container directly. You have to deploy in the pod. Is that clear, guys? Everyone?
Yes.
Simple. So pod is an atomic unit of scheduling in Kubernetes. So guys, each pod you have may have one container or multiple container. Okay. Here pod has a network namespaces and kernel namespaces specification, not a container. Remember, all containers in a pod share the single pod environment. If one pod you have two containers, okay, this is called tight coupling. If you have a one pod, one container, this is called loose coupling. This is the best practices. Loose coupling is good. Here you see, in this each pod you have one Nginx, another one. Each pod you have one Nginx. Sorry, one pod you have multiple Nginx. Multiple Nginx, same kind of application is a bad practice. Why? Because ultimately we can load balance only one Nginx, not everything, because Nginx running on 80 port, you cannot run again on the same inside the same pod 80. So it's not a good practice. One pod, one Nginx, one kind of application is good practice. So if you want to keep it the two containers, keep it something different, Nginx or something else. That way, that's called tight coupling. First container of that particular pod, we call it a main container, and second container of that particular pod, we call it a sidecar container. Okay, that's a terminology is what we use. Okay, both the containers share all the environment of that particular port, network namespaces, IPC mount, everything. So whatever it has been assigned, mind it, here I said, whatever it has been assigned, it get assigned to pod, and all the container can access it. Yes, all the container can access it. Mind it. From one pod to, you can make it multiple pod. That's called scaling. So there are some states which we need to follow, life cycle we call it. So pod is in ready state. When you scale, is become a pending state. So these are the states which you see in the while during the demo. First, whenever you create a pod, it's in pending state. Then you running state. You look at this very image very carefully. Pod is in pending because the container is not running. Container is running, the pod is running also. And container dead, pod is getting succeeded on failed. What is succeeded and failed? Abruptly, container is exiting for after the running. That's called succeeded. If it is running after the work is completed, that's called succeeded. If had run because of some other error, it's got failed. So these are the pod life cycle: running, appending, running, succeeded, and failed. Guys, look at this here, very simple. Here in this pod one, you have a two container. One container you are running on the 80 port, second container you are running on the 5000 port. First container is main container, second container is supporting container. How can you access from outside? IP address of the pod, you see that. Okay, so if you want to access the container of that particular pod, you have to use the IP address of that pod. Okay, from outside. Mind it here. So that is how we waited. How this each pod talk to each other? Through the pod network created by Q-proxy. Remember, each node you have a Q-proxy. So they create one different network altogether, that we call it a pod network. That means each pod travel over the pod network, communicate over the pod network. And because of Q-proxy also, each node also can reach out to the pod across the network, across the node, and then each pod can also reach out to the other network, other node across the pod network. That is possible, but within a cluster. But how it is being done, you have to deep dive into the networking concept, little bit of it. Okay, that's out of this concept, right, context right now. So this is called pod communication, pod network. They communicate over each other through the pod networking. See here, you have a two containers within a pod. If you want to talk to each other, you don't need to use the IP address. You can talk to each other through the local host only. Okay, but if you want to talk from outside, you have to use the pod network, pod IP address and port number of that particular container which you are running with. Okay, so this is called intra-pod communications. So guys, what is a pod? What is pod? So guys, pod contains one or more containers. Pod is your application, or it can be service also. It is a most basic unit of work in Kubernetes. It's a unit of scheduling. By the way, pods are ephemeral. That means if the one pod you created, okay, and you cannot stop it. Remember, this is not a container. You cannot stop the pod. You cannot restart the pod. You cannot do that all stuff. Once the pod is running and gone, it's permanent gone, losses. So same pod, you cannot get it back. So pods are ephemeral. No pods is ever redeployed. You get a new pod actually on the place of that. Same pod, similar pod you get, but you won't get a same pod. See the similar and same. Yeah, that's a good word, right? You get a similar pod, but you won't get a same pod. Okay. Atomicity, they are there or not. What is the job of the Kubernetes? Kubernetes job is to keep your pod running. That's all. More specifically, keeping the desired state, health, and liveness probe and stuff like that. So Kubernetes will make sure that all the pods, whatever you desire, is to keep on running on the each nodes successfully without any problem. If there is some problem, they will replace the pod. Not you will replace, they will replace. Kubernetes will replace that. That's the job of the Kubernetes. Okay, so guys, this is the pod. Any question so far? Did you understand now what is a pod? all of you?
Yes.
Great, guys. So more or less, we have completed the discussion for the introduction round. Again, we have so much of discussion, guys, but I don't want to spend entire time only for the discussion and slides and all. So let's do one thing before more discussion, get into the setting up the cluster. Okay. So now the discussion which I'm going to make it through Notepad, that's more interesting actually. And you love it. I know that for sure. Okay. So focus on this. Okay. Next topic which I'm going to talk about is installing part. Okay, installing part. How to configure the Kubernetes cluster, which has a master and worker both. Master and worker together, we call it Kubernetes cluster. Okay. So Kubernetes cluster setup, you have more than 40 methods are available. Yeah, that's true. More than 40 methods are available, and you can set up a Kubernetes cluster. One of the simplest one is Minikube. You can use the GKE or the Google platform, AKS or the Azure platform, EKS on the Amazon platform, or manual installation. As part of these sessions, whatever I will install it, manual installations. Okay, but there are plenty of the options are available. Using that, you can set up a master at a different platform. Each support their own ways to set up a cluster. Ultimately, you get the same thing, but the steps will be little here and there different. Okay, so right now I am going to talk about manual way to set up a cluster. Manual way. Okay, again, if you want to find out the other ways also, look out the documentations, and many options are there. As I said, 40 methods are there. So every method is not possible, but one of the method which I'm going to show you is the recommended one. And also, if you're preparing for the certification, this is the method will be applicable. Okay, manual method, but using what? Using Kube ADM. Okay, so I'm going to set up a cluster, which I'm going to show you right now. So guys, first let's understand that we have three things. One is a master, okay, and then we have worker and Akka node also, we can call it Akka node, and here master also Akka control plane, we call it control plane. Okay, and then last one is workstation. This is your laptop from where you send the instruction to the API server. So guys, these are the three major components which you have. Now here, what are the components we have in the master? So we have API server. I hope you remember all of this. Then second one, we have etcd cluster stored database, kind of it. Third one, we have a controller manager. Okay, controller manager. And fourth one, we have a scheduler. Okay, these are the four components we have in the control plane Akka master. In the worker node, we have kubelet, and then Docker, and then kubeproxy, Kubernetes proxy. Okay, these are the four components we have in the worker. Laptop and the workstation, what you call it. Okay, we have a kubelet. Sorry, kubectl. My bad. Kubelet you have in the worker. Okay, guys. Now here, remember, Kubernetes says run your application. Think about it, very simple logic. Kubernetes says run your application in the pod, correct? Are you agreeing with me, everyone, over the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, if they advise us to run our application in the pod, so they should run their own application also in the pod. Before they advise us, they should follow their same thing. Application they should run in the pod. Why they should run in the node? They should run in the pod. So guys, I think they are doing it. They are doing it. They are running all their application in the pod. So this is the pod. This is one applications. This is also applications. Okay. This is also applications. This is also applications. It's a pod. Now, anyone would like to tell me how can we instantiate a pod? Tell me. How can we instantiate a pod?
There should be another process which will do this.
No. Think. Who instantiate a pod?
Kubernetes.
Someone said
Kubelet.
kubelet. Yes. Guys, remember, kubelet instantiate a pod depends on the instruction from the scheduler, and scheduler get the instruction from the API server. API server decide based on the what you have pushed it in the database. So connected. So guys, don't you think so? Kubelet as a tool, it should be here also. Yes, it should be here also. Think simple. Kubelet only can initiate a pod, like a Docker can create a container. So kubelet can instantiate a pod. So kubelet has to be there in the master also as per the logic. But you know what? Pod has what? Pod has a container. We know very well. Guys, who's creating a container? Tell me, please.
So Docker also required.
Yeah, Docker is also required in the master. Docker also required in the master. These are the tools has to be there at the host OS, kubelet. This cannot be pod, because if kubelet will be in a pod, then who will create the pod? Docker cannot be in the pod. If the Docker can be in the pod, then who will create a container? So it's like that. So kubelet and Docker has to be at the worker host machine. It has to be in the master on the worker. But by the way, guys, each container get IP address also, right? Sorry, my bad. Pod get IP address, right? So who's assigning the IP address to the pod? Tell me.
Proxy. Kubeproxy.
Proxy. So guys, proxy also need to be there in the master. So yes, that's true. Kubelet, Docker, and proxy need to be there in the master, whereas proxy is just a configuration of IP tables. So this can be in a pod also. It's not a tool which is doing something, just allocating the IP address to the pod. So this can be applications. So this is also a pod. So now, yeah, these all are pod. This is a pod. This is a tool. This is a tool has to be there. This is a real architecture. So now guys, container come from the image. Docker image, mind it here. I said Docker image. And this Docker image come from the Google registry. Yeah. These images which I'm talking about, API server, etcd, this, that, and all, they come from the Google registry, not from hub. Because Kubernetes is a Google project. So since the inception of this project, they were managing the Google registry only. Okay. So this is your real architecture. All of you are clear on this?
Yes.
So guys, I need to set up one master. Okay. and I need to set up one worker, I'll set up a more worker, but whatever I do with one worker, same process you do with a 10 worker also. Okay. If you want to automate it, you can use Ansible, Puppet, Chef, and many tools are there. And then I need to set up a workstation. So these are the things I need to set up: master, worker, workstation. Out of which each node I need these tools: Kubelet and Docker, Kubelet and Docker. Now guys, here in each node, think one more thing I'm adding. Converting a request between the master and the worker, or from the etcd to API, controller to API, scheduler to API, or kubeproxy to API, or kubelet to API, we discussed. They communicate with each other within a node itself and across the node also. So they API server always accept all the request in the form of what? JSON, correct? So how this request, API request, will convert it into the JSON supported things. So for that workstation, you need a kubelet for that. You have kubelet for that. But you know what? Master also need a kubelet. Worker also need a kubelet. Did you understand that or not?
You're telling kubectl, right?
Sorry. My bad. Yeah, very sorry. Yeah, kubectl, correct. Got it. So in the each mind it here, in each machine you need to have a kubectl also. Why? Because kubectl, only using kubectl, everyone can talk to API server. Remember I said everyone, internal and external communications has to be done through the API server, but through kubectl. So human also use kubectl, worker component also use kubectl, master component also use kubectl to talk to API server. So you need a kubectl. Now guys, these are the things is done. Our most important thing is who will set up these many pods, these many containers, who will download all these images, who will configure the certificate, that authentication method, authorization methods and all. Now what is authentication, what is authorization, last day I'll discuss. I'll not include too many topics so you get confused, but in order to set up a cluster, 5 pod, downloading the images, containers, configuring it, certificate, validation, token, this, that, so much of the things has to be done, and I am not going to do that manually. There should be some utility created by Kubernetes itself which will do all this thing automatically, right? Do they have some utility which can do all these things for me and make it my master available, make it my worker available? Do we have? In short, do we have any tool which can set up a master in one command? Do we have any tool which can set up a worker in one command? And that tool named with kubeadm. That tool named with a kubeadm. So guys, if you want to set up a master, kubeadm. If you want to set up a worker, kubeadm. There's a parameter in it for master, parameter join for worker. So there's a one more tool has to be there in the each machine. Guys, are you understanding it so far? Everyone?
Yeah, we are following.
Yeah. So guys, in total, I need to set up a master with the help of kubeadm. I need to set up a worker with the help of kubeadm. These are the prerequisite. You need it to be there in the each node of your cluster. And at the end of it, I'm going to set up a workstation here as well, kubectl. So let's do one thing. I'll have it for the demo. Directly, I'm jumping to the demo. I'll have 2 machines.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Mind it here. I will have a two machines, one for the master, one for the worker. But if I see that workstation only need a kubectl. So kubectl is there in the master also and the worker also. So you can make worker also as a workstation and master also as a workstation. So what I'm going to do is master plus workstation, I'm going to make it together, because anyways we are not doing anything in the master. So master plus workstation will be together at one place and worker will be another place. Okay, so this is the setup which I am going to do in front of you. Now the question is how to do that. I need all the steps. So just go to the devopsschool.com/blog and here you write Kubedium. Okay, it's easy to, and here you have a step-by-step information for RHEL also and Ubuntu also here downside. But we all are using RHEL family for the setup. So this is the URL which I am following up. Guys, let me tell you here, I am doing for everyone. But if you want to do in offline hours and all, you can do it also this stuff. So this is the stuff which I have tried my best to describe it. Setting up Kubernetes cluster using Kubedium manual way in RHEL or CentOS, it will work. Okay, now what is a Kubedium? Minimal explanation again. Kubedium is one of the open source utility. In fact, everything is open source, guys, here. So you can read it in the GitHub pages or Google. What is the goal? I have explained it to you through the discussion. What are the prerequisite? Minimum 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM, minimum, you should be having it. And what are the tools you required for the each node? So you need each node Kubedium, Kubelet, kubectl, Docker, and CNI. Okay, CNI means network interface. So these are the things you needed. So after that, once you go through that, here you have master setting up the Kubernetes control plane. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Done. See here, finally init, which is the setting up the cluster. You get the output like this, done. Now workstation I'm setting up. Step number 11, 12, 13, done. Now worker I'm setting up. So for the worker, you have to do 1 to 8, not 9, and then run this command join, which you'll get it from the init command output, which I'll show you anyways. Okay, run the following command, which you get it from the Kubedium init. So these are the steps which I'm going to perform in front of you to set up a cluster. Will that be okay for everyone? Anyone have any questions? Again, if you want to do it in a home, offline, with your virtual machines, you can do it. But right now I'm going to show you the demo with it.
So Rajesh, if we are doing it in our
Yeah.
virtual machine, we will be doing it with the 2 VMs, right?
Yeah, 2 VM. In fact, 1 VM is also okay, but 2 VMs is ideal to
Yeah, right.
learning better way.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
setting up the 2 VMs right now. By the way, let me tell you guys one more thing. Whatever I'm setting up, we are all going to use from the tomorrow onwards. So you have to check these steps very carefully. It's not like, okay, let him set up this Kubernetes cluster. We'll see that later on. No, why to waste time later on? Look at this, get your clarification done now itself. Is very easy. Okay, by the way, these instructions which I have designed here, this is for the virtual machines, but same thing will work for the EC2 instance also. Okay, so now I'm going to get guys 2 machines, all of you. So I'm just pausing the
This conference will now be recorded.
yeah. So here I have got these 2 machines, one for the master and workstation together, and one for worker. And I'm skipping this step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4. Why? Because these are for the virtual machines, not for EC2 instance. It's done. So I'll directly move from the step number 5, and let me log into the step number 5. This master server. I'm setting on the master first. Okay. Putty. Here I have a keys for it. I'll give you the password tomorrow. here. Click OK. My username is CentOS, and I got the keys and then sudo -s. I become a root right now. So as a root, I'm going to do the rest of the installation. So here, step number 5, I'm installing the Docker Community Edition. So become a root. Straightforward installation instructions. I'm doing in the master. Remember, one by one, I'll set it up. First, I'll set it up with the master. Then I'll set it up the workstation. Again, what these all commands are doing, you have to, if you are not aware of it, you can just do the little bit of research. Yum utils, device mapper, persistent data, LMB2 and all. Different utilities, which is a prerequisite for this installations. I'm doing it. Now, second command which I am having is this one. Let me do that. Okay, you see that the command is taking more time. ETA is almost 40 minutes. So I'm not going to wait for it. I'm going to cancel and rerun this command. So what happens? They have a CloudFront mirror. So they will use the different mirror which is having the more better speed, and they will complete the task. This is also done. Now I'm going to do this.
These same commands we used to set up Docker, right? On the first.
Yeah, it's a same command, guys. Just I have copied it at the one place. So same command, nothing different. Okay, so guys, I've installed this. I'm going to enable it, the services. Let it get completed. I'm just installing Docker right now in the master machine. Same thing I have to do in the workstation also, worker also. But you know what? These are the things I'm doing manually right now, just to show you. But typically we do through the Ansible or Puppet or Chef, like tools like that. Okay. So if you want to learn Chef, yeah. So if you want to learn Ansible or Puppet or Chef, just check it out on my channel, YouTube channel, DevOps School, and you will have those videos over there also.
In Bootstrap script also we can add this, so it will be installed on EC2.
This during the EC2 instant loading time, right?
Yeah, loading time.
Yeah, that is also can be done. Yeah. So guys, here done. Docker installation is done. Now guys, don't copy blindly. Actually, from here and it's here, it's just a one command. Okay. What this command will do? This command will add the M repos where I have all these tools: kubectl, kubeadium, kubelet, and all stuff like that. So I just copy this very carefully and run it. Done. If you read this command very carefully, you will understand that. Set info 0, which is should be permission. Just to make sure that it's done, I'll just run this command also. And then finally, this is the installation command, which will install. This command will install all these utilities like kubectl, kubelet, kubeadium, and stuff like that. Okay, within a few seconds, it will be installed. No problem. Done. Almost done. Done. And after that, I'm going to enable the kubelet. Remember, kubelet, if I don't enable it, then you'll not be able to talk to API server. So I enable the kubelet here. And after that, this is the magical command. This will basically kubeadium init will set up everything, whatever we have discussed so far. Every pod, certificate, authentication, token, everything will be done by this magical command. I don't have to do anything. By the way, you can also do manually. We call it a hardware. So if you put it in the Google Kubernetes hardware, you'll get one Git repo which has all the instructions written by one of the engineers from the Google. So you can do also step-by-step hardware, but it will take almost half a day, more than that actually. And if one small issues will be there, it's very hard to troubleshoot. But it's good for the learning and become a pro in the Kubernetes cluster side. See all this generating a certificate and all, matching the certificate, allowing here, there, and all, everything will be done by this command in it. So almost master setup is completed. Master setup is completed. You see here, got it. You can read it. Your Kubernetes control plane has initialized successfully. Now these are the code you have to copy it, guys. If you don't copy it, if you miss it, then there's a problem here. Again, I repeat, this command, whatever you got it, you need it actually. So I'm going to copy it here. Okay, so basically what you have here is basically this is for workstation, this is for the networking, this for the networking, and this last section is for the worker to worker join command. All the token and checksums and stuff like that is there. Okay, so done. So you see here, step number 10, I got it here. Now I'm setting up the workstation using what? This command only. Okay, so they're saying to start using this cluster, you need to set up a, you need to run these commands, but do it as a regular user. You can do using root user also, but you can become a regular user also, no problem. But here I will just follow whatever it says. I'll become a regular user. Regular user means non-root. This is the non-root CentOS. I become a CentOS. Now using that, I will run these commands. Either you follow that instruction which you got it, or this one is the same thing. Okay, same instruction, copy paste. So this will set up your workstation. Okay, this will set up a workstation. Now can we verify? So these are the commands to verify. Get nodes. See here, when I do the nodes, it says node is not ready. No need to worry about it, because here you have in images also, the node is not ready. Now if you want to check it out, all the pods which is running in the master, see here, these are the pods. This is the kubectl pod which is running, proxy pod running, controller pod running, API server pod running, etcd running, but core DNS, which is a discovery services in Kubernetes, is not running. Why? Is pending because of lack of networking driver. See, proxy is there, but driver is not loaded. So because of that, it's in pending state. If you describe troubleshoot a little bit more and you get to know the reason, but that is where that second part of the code which will be helpful for you, and that is here, this one, this selected one. Okay, so here you can, this one, you need to deploy the pod networking. Guys, there's so many pod networking policies has been developed for the Kubernetes, which will work with the kube proxies. Okay, so if you want to know in detail what are the what are the network policies, ACI is there, Calico is there, Canal is there, Cilium is there, all these products are there. So many products, and again this itself is a new product. Again, I'm not deep dive into this topic, but for time being I'm using ViewNet. ViewNet is overlay network for the kube proxy. So we are using ViewNet, but the question is how to use the ViewNet. So you have to learn this ViewNet product also, but for time being we don't want to learn the ViewNet, we want to learn Kubernetes. So I want to just have a networking. How can we have it? So this is the great information, you have it here, but if you come to my page, I have directly given the direct link for the ViewNet. Copy this command very carefully and run it. That's all. Run it, enter, and this will install the ViewNet. Now you got the service account cluster role binding, RBAC role binding, and all stuff like that. What is this? We will discuss. But ultimately, you got the, what do you say, networking done. I'm not getting into the detail, but networking done. Can I go and check the nodes? Guys, it takes few seconds, so you have to wait for it. Okay, see, now it's ready. Earlier it was not ready, now it's ready. And can we check all the pods? See here, now core DNS is also running. So here you see that ViewNet is one of the pod which has a driver, which is a networking driver, which empower the kube proxy, and because of that, all the container get the network, and you have everything. So ultimately you get this images like that, and you are happy. So your master plus workstation both has been successfully set up. Did you find any questions, any doubts or something like that, guys? Any questions on the doubts?
Yeah, the last command, that networking one, I would not like to know what exactly is happening there. Maybe if you are covering it later, also fine for me.
I wish I can cover in the detailed, but at my channel you can find lots of networking videos for the Kubernetes. Probably that will help you.
Okay.
Or if you get some time, please remind me at the last day. So that way, because networking itself is going to take more than half day, and
Okay.
that is not added as part of the expectation.
Okay, and also, are we seeing only this one, or are we trying out any other networking policy also, like Calico and all?
no matter which networking policies you want to apply for it, the installation instructions will be only one line. Okay, I repeat, installation instruction only will be one line. This is the YAML file actually. This is written in a different format, but it's a YAML file basically. Okay,
And
so
that
you
will
will
be
get
readily available for us, right?
yes. See, you have to decide whether you want ViewNet or Calico, Canal or Cilium. What exactly you want? You will get one YAML file for each one of these. But the question is whether you should use Calico or Flannel or Cilium or Canal or ViewNet. That understanding, for that you have to spend good amount of time to understand this product. Okay,
Okay.
so
And
that's a
are we
different.
defining anything in that YAML files, or is it like we need to write something there?
Nothing. As I said, I did not do anything. I repeat, for every driver, you will get only one file. The way I run for the ViewNet, you will run for the Calico or any other things. But important thing is, what is Calico? How it works and how it empower the pod networking, or what is a Weave? How Weave works, how it empower the pod networking. These are the questions you have to find out. Or if you have some other dedicated session close to the Kubernetes networking, probably I can help you over there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So here done. So this is done. Now what I'm going to do is same thing I'm going to do in the worker. So let's do that. So guys, now at least you got comfortable with it. Master is done. I'm just setting up the worker. It will not take more than 2 to 3 minutes. So please don't go anywhere. Just stick to my screen. And
Rajesh,
this worker I'm making the black only. Okay.
Rajesh, I'm Alvin here. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes. Please tell me.
Rajesh, I'm having very bad network connectivity. Would it be possible for you to share the last session video today itself so that I can rewatch tonight?
I will try, sir. I don't know how to share that large file, but let me try. Let me try.
No, Alvin, this is JP here. From the Spring people, you will get one link.
So,
All the recording will be
sorry?
available there. From Spring people, this is from Spring people, right?
Just talk to coordinator, sir. They will help you.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they will give you the link.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So here I'm going to set up a worker now. For that, what I have to do? 1 to 8, not 9. Remember, init no. So 1 to 8. So 1
No, I
is
was
for the
asking if this can be made available.
I'll just take these questions offline after some time. Okay, let me complete this. So here step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. No need to do that because it's easy to instance, but if you are using in the VMs, you have to do that. Now let me install the Docker in the worker also. I'm doing in the worker, guys. Remember, it's a black screen. That means it's worker. I've not changed the white color for that. Almost done, guys. 2-3 minutes more. Enable the Docker. Start the Docker. Run this. Till 8 I have to do. Set info 0. This also. And install 8. That's all. This is the last step in the worker. Only till 8 step. No init. Don't run init. Else you will set up a 2 master together. So don't run. So now guys, done. So now guys, 8 is done. Don't touch 9. Come back to this. 8 is done, and after that run the following command which you got from the CubeADM init. So something like this command you'll get it, but I have copied here. You should not copy paste from there. It's an old command. I'll just copy this whole things together very carefully and run in the worker.
Rajesh, can you just show it in master node? Where did we get that?
No, not the master node. When you did the init, you got this some output, right? I stored that output in the notepad.
Okay.
And the last section which I'm running, here you see, then you can join any number of worker node by running the following on each node as a root. Not join, CubeADM join, and these are the commands. I'm not explaining these commands because you will be too much content. It will be on your head, but this is how you see that this node has joined the cluster. Dap. Now you have to do it from the workstation. Workstation. What is the workstation here? Now you see, I got the work. What do you say? See, first one is a control plane. Second is worker. So if you want to add more worker, guys, you have to do the step 1 to 8, and after that this command join as many times, and it's done. So this is how we set up the master and worker. By the way, if you want to understand this command, it's very simple. CubeADM join. What is this? This is the API server address, and they required some token, and for that this is a token. This is active by default for 24 hours. You can make it more longer also. Stuff like
that. So there is no separate command in Kubernetes like join worker or join master. All are same.
This itself join. This you have to run in the worker. See, remember I said very clearly, sir, init you need to run in the master, join you need to run in the worker. Very simple.
So if 2 master, 3 master, then
that's a different concept, sir. I'm not adding right now. We'll discuss end of it, because for that we need a little bit of experience with working with the containers, cluster.
So Rajesh, another question is, so that particular command we need to store it permanently, because after a month, if we want to add one more cluster node, means we need the same command, right?
The command will remain same all the time, but this token will change. By the way, this token.
Okay.
This is the permission token.
Okay. There will be a separate way to get it.
It's a CubeADM. Using that you can generate in the master. If you go to the master and you have to become a root. You have to be in a master. I'm in a master right now. CubeADM, and if you type here, you see token. See here.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So here I did see init. I did join for the worker, init for the master, token for generating the token. If you want to upgrade it, you want to check the version, you want to check the config, and many other things are there. Certificate work, many things.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan, and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.